Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Zone Star State podcast. I'm Matthew Brune. Joining me once again is Ishmael Johnson. And Ish, we have basketball to talk about. It's Tuesday, November 5th, and everybody's worried about the election here. We're here to talk ball.
I'm worried
and
about the state of men's basketball right now.
yeah, because it is concerning at this point. This might be
Yeah.
the most I don't want to say negative, but the the most disappointing podcast we've done to this point, where it's just it's gonna be a lot of losses, guys. All right.
Three losses happened in as far as the men's game goes. Three losses to ranked teams, all of them in the state of Texas.
Yeah, all of them. So and then we have a women's basketball game that we're gonna talk about.
We're gonna talk about it. All right.
Talk about it. Which of these men's games do you want to start with?
Let's go with the headline one first. Baylor losing to Gonzaga 101-63. Look,
Sorry.
I try not to overreact to this because part of me thinks that I think Gonzaga is going to be a lot better than we thought. But the thing that's definitely concerning for me, and I think you mentioned this too, at least like of initial observations, Baylor's very small. Very small. And positives, I think Noshad Omier looked really good. Thought
Robert Wright
looked very good as well. Yes, there was one. Negatives, obviously, you can look at Roach and Edgecombe kind of debuts looking as probably underwhelming. I know Edgecombe got a nice poster on Mark Few's kid, which is just bordering on child abuse. But but I'm okay with them not having the best debut. Right, it's one game. I think they'll turn things around. In particular, Jeremy Roach, I don't expect him to be like a gunner scorer anyway. 9 points was about what I expected. It was more the playmaking from him that was kind of whatever. But it was just the rebounding, man. Like Baylor had no answer for anything defensively inside, and Gonzaga just were able to I think they plus 11 on the board, something like that, or at least on the defensive boards. So yeah, that's where eventually it just became way too much. Baylor's defense on the perimeter as well wasn't great. Gonzaga also shot really well from three. So yeah, we can start there. I don't think it's panic time, but I just think I think this Gonzaga team's really good. I think Baylor had a bad night, but I think that Baylor's inside presence is also the weakness that we expected it to be.
I think watching the games, everything you said, first of all, is correct. I think they're just too small. Josh Ojenwuna at the 5. He doesn't play as big as we need to see him play. My bigger problem with this game, and it's a concern, but also I think it's fixable, was defensively they switched everything. And I'm going to just pull up something real quick. I'm going to share the screen for the first time ever. Here we go. I'm just going to share this. Can I share it full screen? Is that a thing? Can I get rid of us? I don't know. Regardless, you'll be able to tell. It's not hard. It's 2 seconds. Look how easily they switched this. Like,
that's
where are we? What do we? He doesn't even set the screen. He just slips it. And
for those that are wondering, I believe that's Nembhard, Braden Huff, and Andrew Nembhard in a pick and roll. They're not even contesting the screen; they're just switching automatically. But I believe that's Jeremy Roach now covering in the screen.
And then that's is that Celestine? Yeah, 32.
That is 32. Yeah, that's Celestine. So yeah, it's a very quick slip of a screen from Huff, and he's able to beat the switch. Basically, obviously, you don't want Roach on him anyway, but he's able to slip the screen and get behind Roach to where it's just an easy pass and layup opportunity.
So that's one example, and there were several examples why, and this is why Baylor was put in rotation throughout the entire game, but the entire first half when the game got out of hand. They were switching basically 1 through 5, but especially 1 through 4. And every mismatch, Gonzaga either got a straight line drive or a post up, and they were doubling, and it was just they were just completely out of sync. So I'm curious as to how Scott Drew and them envisioned this going, and if they envisioned being able to switch like 1 through 4. If they envision Roach being able to guard threes or fours, like I don't know how
Yeah.
this happens. I think you could do that maybe with Edgecombe, maybe you can do that with Celestine, but like it didn't work at all. Gonzaga just
Yeah.
bullied them, and then all of a sudden, I also think they had a major advantage at the 5 position as
Yeah.
well. I thought Josh was just completely outclassed and outplayed by Graham Ike. So yeah, that's a lot of it was defensively, and I don't know how much of it is solvable, but at
Yeah.
the very least, I just was shocked by how much they were switching.
Yeah. I think that's something that they may have to adjust. I do think that maybe Scott Drew thought this team, and again, like I said, game one, we'll see how they adjust. We'll see
Yeah.
how it comes into play. But like, I think this is a team that you look on paper, it's lengthy, right? You don't really have the size inside, but you do have kind of
Yeah,
versatility.
like
And so,
Omir
yeah,
and
so it's like maybe this is a team that he thought he could switch a little bit more, maybe closer to the championship team, right? Where it's like you have guys who can just kind of you have a big who can maybe isn't on an island versus a guard or something.
mhm.
I think Matt Wilson had a tweet from, of course, from Between Two Bears. He mentioned, and he said this pretty early, I'll say, and I think he ended up being proven right. Early in the game, he ended up saying, let's see, where is it? He mentioned that he thinks this is a team that may have to be a little bit of the old school Scott Drew zone type of team.
I could see that.
There it
I
is.
could very
Here it
well
is.
see that.
Yeah, parentheses. I believe this was literally like 4 tweets in. He live tweeted the whole game, but it was like 3 tweets in.
Yeah.
Parentheses. This should be a throwback Drew zone teams at first glance, and I think that ended up being proven right. Scott Drew, of course, I think it was the 1-3-1 he typically used to run early in his tenure, and he was kind of known for that. Recently, it became more of the no middle, especially with the championship teams. But I if this is the way it maybe goes, yeah, I think that you might have to start having more of that patented zone in this with this team because if you don't have the inside, you got to be able to defend it somehow.
Yeah, and especially again, I like we like the guards that they have,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
none Roach and Wright are all what 6'1", 6'2", six
I was
foot.
about to
Like
say,
we're
I think Roach is the tallest there at 6'2". Yeah,
yeah, like we're barely scraping 6'2" here, and those three are three of your 7 rotation players. So 2 of them are on the court
Mhm.
all the time together. I just
Yeah,
don't know, like, yeah, it might have to be a zone team where you have to kind of make things happen. Now, it's a lot harder to run a zone now than it was 10 years ago, I think.
mhm.
So, can they do it if they need to? I don't know. But yeah, this was it was very concerning. I do think Gonzaga's really good. I don't think if they play it again in a month that they would get beat by 30 or 40 again.
Right.
But
It's
ultimately,
funny seeing the early swings. Ken Palm already has Gonzaga as the number 2 team. Obviously, Ken Pomeroy himself will tell you don't take those numbers crazy because it's one game.
yeah.
Baylor, but it shows how bad the performance was that the numbers already plummeted Baylor down to 26th.
Yeah, it was jarring, and I do
Yeah,
think VJ Edgecombe is gonna. I think offensively, we saw how much he's gonna have to have on his plate, and I've said
yeah,
it going into the season. I said he's going to live up to all the expectations. He's gonna shoulder a lot of the weight, and he's gonna do it. He didn't do it game one. That's perfectly fine. Like that
yeah.
happens all the time. They weren't gonna win this game if VJ Edgecombe scored 30. Like they
Mhm.
just were not winning this game. So now it's about bringing him along. We still know he's incredibly athletic. He's an awesome playmaker with a high ceiling. Can
Yep.
they get him going in the next month to where he's an efficient scorer in these big games?
Yeah.
So,
So moving on to the other freshmen that we were curious about, and their game. I'll say this: Texas, I am a little worried about. We'll talk about that in a bit. Trey Johnson lived up to the billing. Trey Johnson, we said, but the difference between him and Edgecombe would be Edgecombe maybe is more of a all around
mhm,
contributor, right? And Johnson is the scorer of the two.
yes.
And I think that I think he broke Kevin Durant's freshman debut record for scoring in the game. He dropped 29. A 29 that Texas needed, by the way. Of course, they ended up losing to Ohio State 80-72. I will say this was also without Tremont Mark, right? So, like, there's your presumed leading scorer, probably, or second leading scorer of this team. So, I don't want to be too harsh on Texas. Also, Ohio State shot 50% from three, 14 out of 28. So, I don't want to be too harsh on Texas, but I will say this. I don't think it's going to be the first time we're going to see Trey Johnson have to do a lot with this
Yep.
team.
Yep.
And uh, although I said I think Texas's bigs were fine, that's all they were. We're fine.
Go, look, if y'all have listened to this podcast, you know I
Yeah.
don't think Caden Shedrick is good enough.
Yeah.
And then you bring Zurich Onyema, who only played 5 minutes, but like that's kind of your center rotation, and
Right.
it's not
Fine. That my point is fine. I don't think fine gets it done in the SEC.
no like that. That's yeah, and it
You
wouldn't have
need
gotten it done in the Big
You
12
need
either.
the
Like at
Dylan
this
Disu, which they
level,
do not have.
yeah, at this level, it's the same thing problem we have with Baylor right now. Like the
Yeah.
5 position, when you go up against Graham Ike of Gonzaga, you go against these guys that are going to be able to play, or even if you go against a Bama who can spread you out, like these guys are
Mhm.
just exposed. Jani Broom, Hunter Dickinson, so on and so forth. But it was really it was right off the bat. I mean, Ohio State came out and just blitzed them, and
Yeah.
Texas couldn't score for the first 4 minutes. And then
Yeah.
Trey Johnson is clearly the best scorer here, but it's also like, who's the second best scorer on this team? Like without Tramon Mark, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Tramon Mark is there, but like last night it was Kaluma, 4 of
I
7.
mean,
Like,
I think they want it to be Kendall Weaver. Um,
yeah,
which
I
again,
think they want
I don't think he's that there yet. Like I think
yes.
he's still a raw developing player. I'm happy to see him start. I think he should start, right? I think he provides
Hmm.
things that a starting lineup needs, but not the thing should not be because I believe he had the second most shots on the team or third most something.
Third, yeah.
He was creating off the dribble a lot or trying to create off the dribble a lot. And I'm like, I don't know how much I like that.
I don't have a like I like Weaver starting. I mean, he had 8 boards, 4
Yeah,
assists.
yeah.
Like we
Like
know
we
what.
saw, like to me, he does the Brock Cunningham role with more offensive upside.
Yeah, for sure. So I like Kendall Weaver. The problem is when, Pope and
Yeah,
Larry and those guys don't give you anything, and then you're having to rely on. We already know Caden Shedrick is not going to be a super efficient scorer. Like
yeah,
he's just not a great interior presence. So it really just came down to Trey Johnson, and he stepped up in every single way, scoring the ball. I
he's
mean,
good, man.
only 1 turnover. He's going to be like out of high school. I'm sure I could find the text. Like I watched him in the Alamo Dome. What
Yeah,
was it, 2 years ago at this point? And it was like, oh, this guy's like Devin Booker. Like he's just
yeah,
gonna take some of these like mid fadeaways, but then he can also rise up from 3 and really shoot it. Like he's looks like a Devin Booker prototype, and that's what he did. So
he looks so smooth. Yeah,
yeah, credit to him because they are going to need his scoring in a huge way this season. I just don't know, like Baylor. To me, I at least see the talent. I think, and I could see the upside of maybe if they put it all together and they figure it out defensively. Texas, I just don't offensively. I don't know if I see it. Like we have to see with Mark. We got to see
right.
what Jamal Mark.
That's why it's an asterisk here. I will say Trey Johnson made one play. I think it was a layup to I forgot it was a big running, but it was like he had kind of a 3v2 and he kind of pulled up at the key and then just pulled up his dribble, bounce pass in the lane as
Hmm.
it was like running right by. It was like, oh my God, like that's
Yep.
maturity, right? Any regular freshman probably just tries to like take on that 3v2 and go for it. But that's gonna be the saving grace for Texas this year is they're going to watch him do some things that pull games out single-handedly. Like I said yesterday, they did not play better than Ohio State, and they were in that game to the end because
They were in it. It
yeah, like I said, with Tremont Mark, we'll see. Because yeah, maybe you don't have Kendall Weaver creating for himself, needing to create for himself a lot. Maybe you have somebody setting up Shedrick a little bit more. But yeah, like I they got to work on the perimeter defense. Again, I don't think Ohio State's going to make 14 threes again this season, but there were a lot of open looks as
Yeah.
well.
I mean, they left It was so frustrating watching them leave Mobley open, hit 4 of 4 from 3.
Yeah.
And just like he kept getting looks, and I was like, damn, okay. Outside of Trey Jones, Texas shot 2 of 18 from 3, by the way. That's not gonna get it done.
Yeah. It's also, I
Uh,
mean, I'll say that it's not exactly a roster that I like for shooting either.
no.
Like outside of Trey Johnson, again, you take away Trey Johnson, it's like, I'm not sure I like a lot of these guys shooting from the
It's gonna
outside.
be Trey Johnson and Tramon Mark putting up 20 plus each game and just figuring
It's
out the
like
rest. It's like the opposite of a VJ Edgecombe almost. Well,
mhm,
how do I phrase this? Texas doesn't need like Trey Johnson to be an all-around player, I guess. Like they
right.
have enough, I think, good defenders, and they have enough like guards that I think can do it on both ends. They just need Trey
Mhm,
Johnson to score.
yeah.
Now is that enough, as a team? Probably not. But like I feel like
Right.
Baylor still not only needs Edgecombe to score more, but they kind of need him just to be that all around guy because they are so small in the backcourt. So it is kind of a interesting way that their two rosters are built.
Yeah.
We can move on to the other team that lost in Texas. Texas A&M,
Yeah.
the Aggies. I watched most of this game,
They are very
and
happy that Baylor lost by almost 40 because people will be. I feel like more people will be talking about more in this game if Baylor didn't lose late last night.
I watched most of this game, and I remember watching the first half. I watched all of the first half, and I texted my friend. I was like, I don't think A&M is going to win this game. I texted like 6 minutes in when they were kind of winning, but then UCF came back, and I was like, I just
Now we
don't
should
feel
maybe
like
give an asterisk, right? No Zurich Phelps.
no Zurich Phelps.
Maybe.
UCF was also without their leading scorer from last year as well. Both teams had their bigs fell out. It was a mess of a game, really. Kind of what you would expect from an A&M game. But, loses to Texas A&M loses to UCF 64-61, and they lose really in the last minute, and they had it. They were right there. I don't want to say they choked, but it felt like they choked. It felt like that was not a game they should have lost.
I believe they were up 9 with like under 5 to go, something like that. Wade Taylor has to go ahead, or give me a 3 to extend the lead to 9. And yeah, it never got bigger than that. And they just kind of let UCF. It was weird. It was like a collection of like 50-50 balls. It was like a lot of like hustle plays that things you would expect A&M to win, right? Things you would expect like a Buzz Williams team to pride themselves on winning. It was a lot of like off a miss, offensive rebound, put back, foul. It was like, I think that was literally the one that the go ahead score was a and one off an offensive rebound, or maybe it was a dribble drive. But regardless, it was like those physical plays that you expect A&M to be the one to come out on top. And I think that last possession, I think we saw a lot of what has plagued A&M, which is late in the game when you need a shot, Wade Taylor takes a bad shot, and nobody else can hit anything, because that's basically what happened. Wade Taylor shoots I think, how many seconds were left? It was like 6 seconds left or something like that. Wade Taylor shoots, and I think it might have been more, and they get 2 offensive rebounds, right? They get one brick, another one.
Hefner shot the first one, then Wade shot the second, and then they kick it back out, and I don't remember who shot the third. It wasn't Obaseki. It was gosh, I don't remember. But anyways, they get 3 looks at it.
I think it was it back to Hefner? No, it wasn't back to Hefner.
No, it wasn't.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Taylor, yeah.
But yeah, like all like aside from the Wade Taylor one, which was kind of like a falling out of the baseline, whatever.
Yeah.
All of them were good. The other were good shots. Like it was the shots that they hit against Houston, right, to send that to overtime. Where it's clear look, no one's around you. Like they were able to step into it and just missed them all. This one, it's bad from in terms of like what we expected for A&M or what we hoped from A&M. This isn't a bad loss in the sense that UCF's a bad team. They're probably a top 50 team, probably at the end of the year. They're going to obviously finish near the bottom of the Big 12 just because that's how the Big 12 is. But still, it's kind of a deflating loss in terms of the hype A&M had. Again, heading into the year, and it feels like you're setting yourself up for more disappointment.
They were up 10 with 6 minutes left. They were up 8 with 4 minutes left. And they end up getting outscored 12-1 in the last 4 minutes of the game. And this was an issue throughout the game. Let me pull the box score up. But Wade Taylor shot 4 of 15 from the field in this game. And it still felt like they had nowhere else to go, especially once Pharrell Payne fouled out of the game. Who, first of all, he's going to be really good. I think Pharrell Payne is probably their second best player at this point. But even late in the game, it still was like you said, reverting back to Wade Taylor save us. It didn't matter that they had Manny Obaseki on the court, or CJ Wilcher on the court, or Hayden Hefner. Like, it didn't matter who, Jace Carter. Those are all ancillary pieces for Wade Taylor. And so we'll see what it looks like with Zurich Phelps back on the court. Maybe he can, be that secondary guy that'd be like, hey, Wade, play off of
each other. Wilcher, by the way. Wilcher's one that had the last shot.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. That's a good shooter, too. Again,
Again, they
Wilcher,
were good looks. Good looks.
Hefner, like those are guys you expect to make shots. But regardless, it was more of the same in terms of Wade Taylor save us, and we have built this roster again without Zurich Phelps right now. But this roster that was on the court was like Wade Taylor's going to shoot it, and we're going to go get the offensive rebound, which is all it's been the last 2 years. They've been the best offensive rebound team in the country the last 2 years. They grabbed 16 offensive rebounds last night. Like they're going to rebound the heck out the ball, but that can only get you so far. It really can. Yeah. And so we need to see Zurich Phelps on the court because he needs to be like the B to Wade Taylor. Like he needs to be the sidekick. Yeah. Again, how much do we believe in that? I'm skeptical of him like really changing it, but that's the biggest thing to me is that it felt like an A&M game from last year, and it kind of felt like it's felt like every A&M game under Buzz Williams. Like, to be fair, like it just feels like they don't have enough to put teams away, so teams hang around, and then they get tight. Wade Taylor has to shoot tough shots. They don't go in, they lose. That's how.
Yeah, I believe John Rothstein tweeted out that it was a wrap on his hand, Zurich Phelps. So like, we don't know exactly what the status is. He was dressed, but it was a wrap on his hand. So I don't know if something happened to shoot around or whatever. Solomon Washington was questionable heading in, but he ended up playing. So that was a good for them. I believe played, let me see,
29 minutes.
Yeah, 29 minutes. So good. But yeah, it's.
I mean, it's the same roster. It's the same roster as last year, except we haven't seen Zurich.
I was about to say, and that's I think that's the issue, right? Is that it's hinging so much on this partnership working, and it's like, is that where we're at now?
Yeah. And I like Pharrell Payne. I think Pharrell Payne's a good player, and he's going to be like good for A&M. So that helps you in terms of raising your ceiling. You're not just rolling out there, Anderson Garcia and Solomon Washington for 40 minutes. Like you have some skill on the inside, but it just didn't feel like I was watching a different team here. It felt like I was watching the same A&M team that plays some close games in hopes that they can make a three, even though they can't shoot. So yeah, that was that. I will say it does feel like it is disappointing. They were 6.5 point favorites going into that game.
Yeah,
like, that is not a game that you should really lose, and especially when you're up 8 with 4 minutes left. It's like that is a bad loss for Buzz.
Yeah.
Last thing on the men's side, we don't have to spend too long on it, but A&M Corpus Christi hung with Purdue, and I don't care what the final score says. It was 90-73. They were like within 3 and within 4 with like in the last 8 minutes of the game. And nice. Watching it, I watched it on and off, but I thought they had a great game plan for Purdue. Purdue kind of just the size is too much. They start like another 7'4" guy at the center, which is annoying. But they came out, they hit a bunch of threes. That's what you got to do. In the second half, I believe they were 5 of 8 from 3 to start it. So they brought him back. Gary Clark is really, really good. 14 points from him. OND's 20 points. So we said going in, this Corpus Christi team was going to be one that could make some noise in the Southland and could compete with, a McNeese team who lost last night. And we'll see what SFA looks like. But I did want to give them a shout out real quick.
Yeah, a couple more I wanted to shout out. I have no idea if they'll be good this season. I didn't hate what I saw from Texas State in their win over Eastern Michigan. Entertaining. They're very entertaining. Caden Gomes, 15 points, 4 assists. A lot of, I believe 4 of the 5 had double digits. Starting 5 had double digits. So like, I was very entertained. And then one that I loved, Austin Clonch got his first win for UTSA. They played Trinity. They're also in San Antonio. 103-77. There was no defense on either side in this game. Austin Clonch said, "You know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna let Primo Spears have 27 points in his debut." So I just saw that and I'm like, I know what I'm getting from UTSA this year. I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
Alabama of the South.
Let's do it. I'm okay with that, man. Is have an identity and we're good. That's all I need. Just have an identity.
Let's go. But then the last notable men's game here, SMU put the beat down on Tarleton. And Matt Cross left the game early too. They didn't even have Matt Cross did not score a point, and they still just put the beat down on
That's
Tarleton.
A really good sign. That's a really good sign.
It's either a good sign for SMU or a bad sign for Charleston.
That's a good point. Yeah, it could be either way.
Something's happening one way or the other. We got something to talk about. But yeah, shout out to SMU because that is not a game I expected them to win by 34 points. So good job. All right, let's talk about our last headliner here.
Oh,
we got to get to it. I'm sorry. Sorry. Aggie fans, y'all have had a tough week. Aggie fans,
it's a very tough week.
Football, men's basketball, now women's basketball.
Brother,
Corpus Christi.
We joked about this. Remember, we joked about this,
and we
were like, "Oh, I don't know. We'll see."
I was wrong. You had hope. I was like, we say this every year, right? We say this every year. They're not going to actually do it because they play like every season, and I'm like, they're not actually going to do it. We always say that. They did it. A&M Corpus Christi beats Texas A&M 62-56, outscores them by 8 points in the fourth quarter. I went and just watched the fourth quarter. You're not missing anything if y'all didn't watch it. A&M looked lethargic. A&M looked poorly coached. A&M looked like they didn't know what they were doing on offense. A&M, I texted you this when we saw this go final. A&M finished the game shooting 27.3% from the field against a Southland team. And again, we know how good A&M Corpus Christi is. Nobody come at us here. A&M Corpus Christi will get their flowers. But this is a lot more about A&M and the state of the program right now. To shoot 27% from the field, 3 of 25 from 3, and to lose at home to A&M Corpus Christi, a team that you just beat by 20, I think it was like 25 last year. Yeah. And that's the same A&M Corpus Christi team out, and they lost.
They lost their best player.
Yeah, like this is the same Corpus Christi team. Paige Allen, Aguado. We're gonna talk about them.
Yeah,
but you beat them by 25 last year, and now you lose by 4 or 6 at home here. So I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how we started yesterday watching UCLA and paying attention to one Janiah Barker, who is now at UCLA, and kind of seeing the issues with her game and why she probably didn't live up to expectations, but also saw what she kind of provided for her new team. Her and Lauren Betts were a really good tandem, I thought. I'm curious to see how that develops as the season goes along. And it was like, you're watching her and you're like, A&M really let her go, huh? Like, obviously, I'm not saying they let her go. She left, but like they created the environment to where she said, I got to go. And they don't have anybody else that does remotely what she can do. And it shows. She didn't play great. I think she had like 8 points, 7 rebounds or something. Didn't shoot great, but it just showed her ability as a player on the inside. And it just, you mentioned it. You're getting beat physically by a team that does not have a single player. If this was ideally an SEC contending team, Paige Allen maybe cracks the top 10. I love Paige Allen.
Yeah.
I love her. We're going to give her flowers in a bit. If you're a contending team in the SEC, how do you let an opposing point guard who wouldn't start for a contending SEC team get double-digit rebounds on you? Right? She finished with a double-double with rebounds. She's 5'8". Yeah. Right? Like, insanity. This is a massive indictment of Joni Taylor, because what's been the big issue for A&M since she's gotten there, that we gave her a pass on in year 1, was that this offense does not know what it looks like it wants to do. It does not have any direction.
Nope.
Guess what the offense still looks like? That it does not know what it wants to do. And now you're not good enough defensively to stop anybody. So what do you do well? And we're in year 3 asking that question.
Yep. I almost said, UCLA is doing what good programs do in terms of stacking up talent. And, that's what A&M needs to do. And then I remembered A&M is Texas A&M. Like, Texas A&M women's basketball is an institution this century under Gary Blair. Like, this is not just alarming. Like, this is fireable off rip. First game of the season, I don't need to see it because I don't want to watch 16 games of SEC basketball of you going, what are they going to go in the SEC?
I was about to say, like, that's the thing is, like, it's not like this has just came out of nowhere. We were also all offseason like, are they going to do anything in the portal?
Like, are they going to anybody else? I looked on their bench.
Are they doing it?
I looked on their bench against A&M Corpus Christi, and I understand, maybe a player hurt here or there or whatnot, but it was like, it felt like a spread out. It was like some towels over there. It felt like I was looking at a bench that like did not know, that thought they were going to lose the game. Like it looked like a team that thought they were going to lose the game, and they were winning going to the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Why did Jada Malone, the true freshman, look like the only player that wanted to be there? Like I think she finished with what did she finish? She finished with 11 points, 9 rebounds on 5 of 9 in
Yep.
16 minutes.
Yep.
She put in work. And it's like, why are you already relying that much on a true freshman in year 3?
And look,
That's crazy.
I covered Janae Kent here. I talked to Janae Kent before in person. Janae
Yeah.
Kent is a great person. She's not starting caliber in the SEC right now. Like that's one. And she led them, and she was second in the team in scoring behind Jada Malone. 10 points on 2 of 10 shooting.
Yeah.
Like that's the situation. Aisha Coulibaly, 3 of 10. Like this is, and when you watch them, like I said, I watched the fourth quarter. It was like they would turn it over or miss a shot. And it's not even that they did that. Corpus Christi beat them to the other end of the court and got a good shot repeatedly. Like it flipped like that.
Mm-hmm.
You were up 4 to start the fourth, and they went down 4 within like 3 minutes. And just like that, Corpus Christi looked like a team that knew its identity, knew what it was doing. And Joni Taylor has not only done a poor job coaching this team in the past 2 years, but now she doesn't even have talent. And so you got to be one or the other. You either got to be a talent coach or a X's and O's coach if you're going to be one. And she, in theory, should be a talent coach. But I don't know what happened, but they didn't get any talent.
Yeah. I think here's the thing. Here's a quote from Texas after the game. One of the quotes that really, really concerns me. This is after the game. It's from Joni Taylor per Texas. As unfortunate as it was, I cannot say that I was shocked by the outcome. After our 3 scrimmages, we talked to our team and asked them, what is the identity of our team? We don't have a calling card and we just aren't consistent. We have got to get it figured out. We have had enough time for a group to figure it out. We had 3 players on the court who hadn't played basketball for 2 years and 1 who had not played in 3 years. Okay, so 1, positive, she sees what we see. We're not being dumb. But 2, what's the answer? Like, what is it's one thing to identify, like, okay, cool, we don't have an identity right now. Awesome. How do you figure that out right now? Right now, because don't look at their schedule. You know who they have coming up on Thursday?
Who is it?
They have UTSA coming up. They play UTSA this Thursday.
Oh,
they will lose that game 10 out of 10 times if they play like they did against Corpus Christi. Jordan Jenkins is having a career day against this team if they come out like they did against Texas or Corpus Christi. So you better figure it out very quickly because you have a couple days to turn this around before you have an even more embarrassing loss, because it's not going to be UTSA is going to handle that convincingly and not in a scrappy fashion. They're just going to beat you straight up. And I think that'd be more embarrassing than losing a scrappy game to Corpus.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the last thing I was going to say is just in response to that quote, the first thing that hit my mind was, you built this roster.
Man, you ain't kidding.
You built this roster. All right, we have 3 players who haven't played in 2 years or a year or anything like that. Okay, where's a veteran leadership on this team? You added Janae Kent from the portal. Like, you added some freshmen, and we're rolling out the same lineup of like Sahara Jones and Lauren Ware and Aisha Coulibaly, who were not good enough last year. So you built this roster, and your job is to build an identity. And I guarantee they lost all those scrimmages and exhibitions that they played against good teams, because this is not
Kendall Hunter, 20 points, 0 for 5 from 3. So it's like, again, there's one of those players that you're relying on that has not played in 2 years.
Yeah. So A&M Corpus Christi, though.
Yeah, I was about to say, we want to end on some praise here. That's because that was impressive.
Positives. They look like a well-coached basketball team, like just flat out. When I watched them in the fourth quarter, just get it and go, and just no fear. And Aguado like had a really, really nice drive from the right side of the paint to get to again. It was like 2-on-2 because A&M was half-assing it back, and so she gets to the left side and finishes through contact. You're like, okay, 6 of 9 from the field, 6 rebounds. Again, their guards were out rebounding Texas A&M, and they did not rebound them for the game, but as a team. But like, you are talking about 13 steals from A&M Corpus Christi. They ran some different zones at them at Texas A&M that really bothered them. They dared them to shoot threes. Great scouting report stuff. Nobody on that team can shoot. And yeah, it was easy. It was great. Paige Allen and Aguado are really, really good. I think they're going to figure it out. That they don't need to shoot a lot of threes. They were 4-13 from 3. And if you can do that against an SEC team, Granted, it's not a good SEC team, but it's a team with size at the very least.
Mhm.
Kent, Koulibaly, where like you don't have to shoot a bunch of threes to beat them. I think that means it's sustainable. That means you're getting
Yeah.
really good guard play and you're getting to the spots you want to get to on the court. So I feel really good about Corpus in the Southland. That Southland battle is going to be awesome.
It's gonna be crazy. I know them versus Lamar is gonna be a lot of fun. By the way, Lamar put on some beat downs of their own with a versus Texas A&M San Antonio, so I was happy to watch that one too. But yeah, no, I mean, we always talk about these teams because they always play money games, and it's like, oh, is this the year where what happens? Sure enough, man, it was a perfect storm. You caught an A&M team that's really struggling, and you guys are looking like a contender again. So Paige Allen was the best player on the court. Um, that's going to be said, obviously not versus this type of team, but like that's going to be said more often than not this season. I feel like in games, probably not against teams, not Lamar, basically.
Yeah. The only other women's game I have of note is UTEP beat Tarleton by 3. So we'll see if that amounts to anything. And I
Okay,
realized
it's not bad.
on the men's side, we did forget to shout out. I forgot to shout out Texas Southern
Yeah, they
hanging with
hung with
Xavier.
Xavier for a while.
Hung with them. We're leading at halftime. We're tied with them in the second half. End up losing 78-69. But Texas Southern men, they're gonna get one. They're gonna get
We
one.
got you. We're gonna get one. We know. We're here. We're believing.
We're gonna get one. Yeah.
Trying to think. Texas doesn't play till Sunday, which really made me mad. I thought they played at least somebody. I was looking at the schedule, the women's, Texas women's, because I was like really hyped after I saw the men lose, and I was like, all right, where's the
Wait,
good team?
the Texas women don't play their first game until Sunday?
Yeah,
Holy
right?
cow.
Exactly. It's Southeast Missouri State. So I was like, oh, come on, man. Like I was so bummed because I was like, after I watched the men lose, I was like, when's a good team play?
Yeah,
And then I looked and it was like the 10th. And I'm like, why are they so late?
that is,
So
yeah.
yeah, they play midweek next week, so they get a good quick, turnaround. But still, it's like that's so weird. I was all hyped up to see them, and now I gotta wait a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Baylor plays Thursday against Incarnate Word, so I'm excited to see them debut. So we'll talk about that in the next episode.
Yeah. All right. There it is. We got through it. A lot of losing. So let's get back on track, folks. Don't worry. We like talking about winning teams, no matter
Yeah,
what level they are. So once we figure out who the good teams are, we'll start hammering them.
exactly.
Even if we're gonna become a Southland podcast. I don't care.
Let's do it.
But yeah, thank you all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe. Let us know what you think of the teams in Texas, who you're most worried about, all that good stuff. You can subscribe on the Dave Campbell's Texas Football YouTube channel right now. Leave us a 5-star rating and review if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. For Ishmael Johnson, I'm Matthew Brune. We will talk to y'all later.